And that's when I said, fuck the Jaggies. The blacks are sharper.
Deeper.
What did I say?
Sharper.
No, I said deeper.
No, you said sharper.
No, I didn't.
Fucking 5 seconds ago, you already...
Where's the evidence? You need evidence. Without evidence, it's just bullshit. I'm posting a link.
So, who else is on board today?
We're gonna have Jen, but she pussed out like a puss.
Maybe next time.
Perhaps.
You have no idea the power I hold.
Oh, it's just retrieving the link. I just linked with my linking powers of link deduction. Link
you want your food, go up and eat your food. I'm not impeding you.
Kevin's not gonna stop you. Go eat your food. Kevin won't bother you.
I'll go.
Go eat your kibbles.
Eat.
Oh, you're hot? You want a wet lip cold thing?
Pinning it to the Discord.
All right, get down.
Pinning it to the Discord. Panicking at the disco. We've got this.
Please.
Come on,
Just-
I'll get you cold thing.
Please. Mm.
I understand. All right. I'm gonna load up the things.
You won't hurt you. Come on. See, my foot's in the way.
Oops, wrong one. There we go.
Okay.
Okay. All right. We got this. Everybody ready?
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 All right. I had my lungs out 1 sec. All right. I sent the link to the Twitter and the Discord, and I panicked at the disco. So that's a crucial step. Didn't I just mute the mic for that?
No.
Such is life. All right, let's get started. Man, I can just not clear my throat right now.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. All right. 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to the Baka Gaijin show. I'm your lovable rascal of a host, Zeke Freak, and with me today, as always, is my innocuous co-host, Kevin Faulkner.
Some people call me Tim.
Those people are wrong.
Exactly.
Other people
When will they learn? When will they? That reminds me of the elusive man from Mass Effect that everybody just calls Tim.
I was actually just quoting Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
I mean, fine. Just ruin my reference of your reference. That's fine. What is this battle of the references?
Double reference all the way across the sky.
Double reference all the way. What does it mean? I think it might become a triple reference because we got a guest with us. Guest, introduce
Hello.
yourself.
Hello, I'm Kimo. You know me as KimoForce on Twitter, and also the guy who ended up on Comedy Central oversight on tweets.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
How was your
I'm
experience
never gonna
post
let
that
I'm
happening?
never gonna live that down.
Yeah.
That feel when the memes go, like, your meme went mainstream. That's just kind of hard for me to wrap my head around.
It was just a casual day of shitposting, and suddenly I found myself on TV.
Yeah.
I loved how you actually edited your avatar for a while to say "as seen on TV."
That was actually a friend of mine did that for me, and I just rolled with it.
Oh my God,
it was amazing.
God bless that friend.
So you have officially surpassed Neon as our most famous guest.
Yeah, I'd say they're about on equal footing.
Maybe.
I don't know. Has Neon ever been on Comedy Central? I don't think so.
Maybe
I'm
one day.
rooting for him. I'm rooting for him, but it hasn't happened yet. Until such a day occurs.
One day.
Yep. So, it's been a while since we've had a podcast, Kevin.
Indeed.
But if you're an active subscriber to my channel, not that long since you heard our voices.
Indeed, because we've been doing Let's Plays this entire time.
Exactly. We started up Baka Gaijin Novelty Hour, a show where we kick back, relaxify, and enjoy some visual novelization. We tried out Rewrite for a bit. The update video I posted a few days ago explains why that's not happening anymore at the moment. We're going to continue with our Danganronpa 1 Let's Play. You're going to notice we have some episodes done, but they're going to go up kind of slowly while I figure out a new release schedule and we record some more episodes.
Yeah, because we don't just want to blow through Danganronpa too fast.
Well, it's not even that. It's just I don't want to. I want to give Cube a nice buffer.
Yeah, because we're nice.
Yeah, and just get us all on a rhythm and a rhyme so we can get them out on time. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. Yeah. So that's what we've been doing. We've been enjoying that. That's great. But aside from that, what else have you been up to, Kevin?
Well, I finally got my fucking ass around to catching up to Dragon Ball Super. I've watched all but the most recent episode.
Mm-hmm.
Holy fucking shit, Android 17 is back and he's powerful as hell.
Yeah, one sec.
That's kind of amazing because where'd he go?
Oh, hold on. Yeah, I just had to
there
talk
you
to
go.
someone. I just had to talk to someone. Remember when I told you he was texting me about resetting the router?
Oh, right. And you're like,
He just barged in here and was like, reset the fucking router. I'm like, I'm doing a show. I'm doing a show on the internet. I'm doing a live show.
Your timing is terrible.
Yeah. So that sucks.
But,
yes, I caught up on. Well, you're catching up on Super. Finally.
I have almost completely caught up on Super. Huzzah. Been watching Eromanga Sensei every week. That's pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
I actually discovered, like, just a few minutes before this podcast started, actually, Crunchyroll posted a video on their Twitter, and apparently the director for Eromanga Sensei, this is like his first full directing job, and he actually intends to outdo Imo. And one of the ways he's doing that is to emphasize how adorable Sagiri is.
Right.
So much so that he actually hired a well-known animator to do a bunch of Sagiri scenes, like at least 10 cuts of Sagiri per episode, to emphasize how adorable she is.
That's cool.
He is the official Sagiri character animator.
Yeah, I like directors with ambition.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah.
I mean, because let's be honest here, Imo was a fucking phenomenon when that came out. So, That's a bit of a tall order to outdo
I don't know.
So.
Can they capture lightning in a bottle twice?
We will have to see.
Yeah, we will see.
Certainly on its way, but again, little.
Rainbow ended up on the Japanese government's radar at some point.
What?
I remember there was some talks about I guess the protagonist for Rainbow, the brother, being considered as one of the representatives for the Japanese government, something like that. I'm not entirely sure about the details.
That sounds like an Anime Maru article.
It does.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, could be. But that sounds a little too clever for them these days. So, who knows?
Well, anything's possible.
Then again, Doraemon is the ambassador to the animated world, so anything can happen.
That's true.
And they do have anime characters who are
sponsor the Olympics or represent the Olympics.
That's true.
Actually, they have like entire anime characters and families who are like honorary residents of Japan.
Yeah, like here's the thing. I don't live in Japan.
Yosuke for president.
Here's the thing. I don't live in Japan. I don't claim to know about their political structure or whatnot. But all I know is Prime Minister Abe came out of a pipe like he was Super Mario at the Olympics. And I'm just like, you know what? That's the kind of guy I want running a country.
Better than what we got.
Yeah, that's true. And then you get shit like the Queen being like airlifted with Daniel Craig out of a helicopter. You're just like, why is everyone else's world leaders so cool?
I mean, fucking seriously.
Yeah. Anyway, I had something to say. Oh, right. I haven't really gotten the chance to bring this up on the podcast before, but we have a Discord server.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can find a link to that Discord server in the description below.
Celebrate
good times, come on.
Celebrate the.
You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of my mom and I actually saw Muppets in Space in theaters when it came out, and we were the only ones there.
Oh my god,
that
must have been bizarre.
Yeah, that was that shitty theater I told you about with that I saw Last Airbender at.
Oh, like the one with the friggin' pillar right in the middle of the damn screen.
Okay, let me tell you guys how shitty this fucking theater is. Okay, it's like in the upstairs of like a building that was clearly not intended to be a theater, sandwiched in between office buildings in the middle of downtown, and the ceiling leaks. There are tiles missing from the ceiling. There's random pillars in the way of the screen. The seats are all weirdly arranged. You have to like climb like 50 stairs to get anywhere. It's like there's only like 3 or 4 theaters in the theater. It's a really shitty. I don't even know if it's still open.
Probably not.
Yeah, but I'm glad I got to see such a shitty movie in such a shitty theater. It really amplified the experience of that movie's shittiness. It's like Exponents, you know. Shit squared.
I remember we had a theater that was initially an opera stage that was refurbished as theater, which is kind of interesting. But I don't know.
Now
if
you don't get
still running.
Now you don't get opera anymore. Now you just get Fathom events of opera.
Yeah.
Come over to the theater to see this random person wail on a screen for 3 hours.
Yeah. So, Kimo, what have you been up to?
Well, in terms of anime, it's mostly just been Little Witch Academia again. Still watching that, and I've also been watching the 5th season of Samurai Jack.
Oh my god, fucking Samurai Jack.
Oh my god, that is not anime. What are you doing?
Well, I guess it's just among the stuff that I'm watching.
Yeah. And before that one guy comments again, like, why do you guys only talk about cartoons? It's supposed to be an anime podcast. What are you doing?
And well, since it ended because it was running last season, I took the time to catch up on Kobayashi's Maid Dragon, which was a pretty cool show.
I still have to watch like I still need to watch the last like 5 episodes of that.
I've heard that. I've heard it's good, but much like Bahamut Genesis, I don't believe it.
Come on, man.
It's good. I honestly think it was a good show.
The entire internet is in on it. It's a conspiracy.
And well, that's about it when it comes to stuff that I'm watching. And when it comes to video games, I finished Spectre of Torment, which is the new Shovel Knight update.
All right. Oh, that's cool.
And, yeah, it's amazing. Honestly, in my opinion, it has to be my favorite. It has to be my favorite entry among, well, at least the ones that have come out so far. It's a lot faster. Spectre Knight feels more aggressive than all the previous ones, and he's generally fast, and he has a lot of generally cooler abilities.
Yeah,
that previous Knights didn't get. And
it's true.
Of course, but I think one downside is that it's shorter than the other ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still great. And
that's cool.
Obviously, I've been playing Persona 5. My copy came late.
Yeah.
And then I had exams, so I couldn't play it until very recently. And I finally got around to it, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I've been playing the shit out of Persona 5 since it came out.
Yeah,
went
really good.
Went to Monday night pre-launch. Got at like 9 p.m. They upgraded me to the Steelbook, so I didn't get that controller decal I wanted, but you know.
Mm-hmm.
Steelbooks are still fucking spiffy as hell, so.
Yep. That was spiffy. I'm really far into it. I'm like in November. I'm very far into it.
Oh, I'm still in May. Beginning of May.
It's gonna be May.
It's gonna be May. Yeah, I have like 110 hours on it or something. I don't know.
And another game that I'm still playing is Killing Floor 2, which I'm actually playing right now.
What? Incredible. Why can't you multitask like this guy, Kevin? Yeah.
Well, something.
Don't tell me what to do.
One thing weird about Killing Floor, at least for me, is that I've managed to get around to playing this game while completely muted. Which is why you're not hearing anything.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just tend to focus better like this. It's just inexplicable.
Interesting.
But yeah.
Yeah. I've been wanting to play that, but I always kept telling myself I'd play it when they fucking finish it.
It is finished.
I'm glad. Well, yeah, I know now, but it was like in beta for like 8 years or some shit. 8 years.
Well, that's the first one.
Since before Killing Floor 1, it was in beta.
Well, it's out now, and bit by bit, they're just adding new stuff. Mostly
good.
New stuff. So yeah, it's going pretty well.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Yeah, that's about it for me.
All right. What I've been up to, doing Novelty Hour. I've been doing that. Been playing a lot of Persona 5. Watching simulcast anime. There was no Yu-Gi-Oh! This month, so that was sad. I've been watching Super Attack on Titan Season 2 and Hero Academia Season 2. And that's
Attack on Titan Season 2 is pretty ballin'.
You heard that from me.
I hear that from everyone.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. The new director really understands horror and suspense in a way that Araki kind of doesn't.
Like, not that Tetsuro Araki wasn't a good director, but he tends to favor more over-the-top direction.
Right.
Like, that was very noticeable during the first season, where practically every single scene had characters screaming.
You gotta be honest, though.
Unless you watch Tatum's dub, in which case every scene had.
One of the things that I really like about the anime is that it was ridiculously over the top, and it just kind of gave the show its charm, I guess. Some kind of charm.
I don't know. I feel a lot of the subtleties of the show fell flat because it didn't have any fucking subtleties.
Yeah, maybe. But if the show's taking a more serious approach, and then yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Has anyone watched the new My Hero Academia anime? Or
Yeah, I am.
yeah,
I need to.
well, I kind of read the part that they're covering in the manga, so I haven't
Tournament
gotten around to it yet.
talk!
But yeah,
I'm
but yeah, the bit they're
Go on.
covering is really interesting. Like in my opinion, a lot more interesting than what we got in season 1. So
season 1 was like
it was good,
kind of like all set up. It was good. It was good, but it was
well, I think
well
the problem for me, the problem with it is that it was a little slow. They took probably way too much time than what they needed. Like I think the entire first volume took 6 episodes or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I hope season 2 is a lot faster.
Yeah. I don't know. I liked that they took it slowly, but when you look at season 1 as its own package, it doesn't come across as well because of it, I guess. But I enjoyed it.
It's great that obviously taking it slow to develop and build characters is important, but sometimes when it's too slow, it really drags down the experience.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but I'm enjoying it. I'll probably read the manga at some point.
Yeah. Well, like I said, season 2 should cover. Well, I guess it should cover the more interesting part of My Hero Academia, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully they go all the way to the bit that I have in mind. I don't want to say anything because spoilers and whatnot.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I mean, we have 2 cores, unlike a certain other shonen airing this season,
Which we already referenced.
Yep. Way to give it away, Kevin. I was trying to be subtle.
Subtlety. Since when was that the other show's strong suit?
Cheese and crackers. But yeah, that's cool. That's why. I watched a few episodes of Konosuba, but I kind of fell off that.
I was always curious about that show because it made rounds on Twitter, but I just don't know, just barely know anything about it.
I've seen the first season, and I'm going to watch the second one. I enjoy the characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like the humor is a little on and off. Like some jokes work, others just kind of fall a little flat. But I think the characters and how they bounce off of each other really help save the show.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Interesting.
I also enjoy it because it's actually kind of a parody of the whole trapped in a game world anime genre that's been very popular lately.
I mean, no.
What?
No. It's not really I don't know. It's a game world in the same way Danmachi is, where it's like it's a fantasy world that just happens to work that way.
I think a lot of the parody comes from the fact that the main character expects the world to be, the same as something like Sword Art Online or Log Horizon, just like very specific way.
Yeah.
Like I get to become the hero in my own story, and I get to go hunt down giant monsters and be a powerful warrior. Turns out he kind of fucking sucks, and he has to kill cabbages all day.
I don't know, man. Like I feel like it's more of a spin on Danmachi, if anything. I feel like if you remove that first 10 minutes, then that's what it is.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't like to form opinions or defend them on public.
Hey, come on.
Hey, what's the matter, you?
What's the matter for you? What's the matter for you? Fucking about
That's
it.
racist. You're racist.
No, I'm not.
Yeah. So that's what we've been up to.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And
Right.
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 Right. Right.
Right.
Right.
Fine. Right. And now we're gonna get into our main topic of discussion here.
Oh boy, here we go.
All right. We're gonna talk about localization with specific focus on Persona 5's localization, which some claim, Kevin, is a tad lacking.
Not a tad lacking. Oh, goodness.
Oh, that sounds like a name the more I say it. Hi, I'm Tad Lacking. I work for Microsoft. Yeah. So to demonstrate the hashtag other side, somebody made this interesting article, and they designed their own website to make this article. You can follow along. Go to www.personaproblems.com.
Going to Persona.
I kind of read into what was going on, so
I actually did read the general overview of this site. So
yeah, we have some we have some words to say on this article and localization in general, and I have some perspective as someone who's put 110 hours into Persona 5. And
for me going into this, I understand, just real quick, I understand where this person is coming from, and I know, and I agree with a lot of their points, but there's also a lot that I disagree with, and much like the article where that one website was going off on Crunchyroll about their, about their video quality issues, I feel that they're saying one thing about their approach to this, but their words kind of betray what their intended meaning is here. It's like, I don't mean to judge X because of Y, and then they proceed to judge X because of Y.
Right. And before I start reading this, I'm going to play some Persona 5 battle music for myself, just to get myself in that mood.
I don't even know what Persona 5 sounds like.
Yeah. Way to go, Kevin. You know what? You nailed it. It's perfect. It's perfect. Don't change a thing. They should have put you in charge of music, honestly. Because you just have better ideas, frankly. Anyway, so if you load up the website, which is really well designed, by the way. Good job on the UI there. He said he did it to just flex his web design skills.
Oh, he did a good job.
Yeah, I was just reading the Discord for a sec. All right. So it's called Persona 5: Phantoms of Translation: How Atlus Fails Fans of a Landmark JRPG. Cutting to the chase. Persona 5 is out in English, and it's arrived with a shower of praise from critics and fans alike. Even the fans are into it.
Amazing!
This should come as little surprise to anyone who's played the game in Japanese. It's brilliant and innovative and very fun. Those are good things. But there's a problem, so he claims. The translation is riddled with errors.
Riddled.
Riddle me this. That's not to say it's unreadable.
Riddle me this, Batman!
Find all my Riddler trophies. That's not to say it's unreadable or completely without merit. But for a massive RPG from a highly successful franchise, it falls incredibly short of the standard it should be held to.
Incredibly short.
Incredibly short. A video game is a professional work. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Okay. No different from any other form of media. Even popsicle sculptures. You put the sticks together with the glue, you make something out of it.
It's professional work.
Yeah. Yet no other form of media would ever get away with the number of errors found in Persona 5's English script. Not even popsicle stick sculptures. This isn't the 19... Go on.
No other form of media would ever get away with the number of errors found in Persona 5's English script. Bitch, watch.
I'm looking at you, underwater basket weaving. This isn't the 1990s. when localization was still young and air was endemic. Nor is Persona 5 a small game or an insignificant one. It is the exact opposite of those things. It is big and significant.
Huzzah.
But how bad is bad? The baseline for any translation is this. Readers of the translation should receive the same experience as readers of the original, as if the original creators had written it natively in both languages.
I do agree with that statement.
That's true.
That's true.
Like they do make a good point there.
Yeah. Persona 5's English localization does not meet this standard. Bold
That
words.
makes me smack the desk.
I'm emphasizing for a point.
Don't break this desk.
Yep. Readers are receiving an inferior work containing awkward language, mischaracterization, grammatical mistakes, and outright translation errors.
Not awkward language.
That language is so awkward. It's like Swahili, but worse. And now for the FAQ section. How does translation differ from localization? And to understand that, we have to start with what translation is and what translation is not. Translation is the following bullet points. Adapting text from one language to another, ensuring that the adapted text is faithful to the creator's intent, conveying foreign concepts gracefully and without distortion, and allowing readers to enjoy the same experience in both languages. Do we agree with these points?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And this is what translation is not. A word-for-word conversion of a language from language A to language B.
Pause.
Removing...
Pause. Okay. I actually saw somebody on Anime News Network think that translation was a word-by-word conversion of language A to language B, and they said, I could translate a book in a day.
I work for ANN. Sky's the limit.
No. It wasn't even someone who worked on ANN. It was some dumb fucking commenter.
That's true. I don't talk about ANN's standards very often, but even I think they wouldn't hire someone who believes that.
Exactly.
Anyway, furthermore, removing content that is difficult or controversial to readers. Don't do that. Leaving content untranslated because it is challenging to convey. Or changing content to suit the translator's subjective preferences. That's not translation. Do we agree?
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
A lot of people would actually disagree on that, though. Cough. Fire Emblem Awakening. Cough.
Cough.
Well, I guess it's just I don't know. I guess it depends.
Yeah. So now that we've established what translation is and what it isn't, we must understand that localization is a broader process and involves adapting content so it's more easily understood in different regions. This generally involves translation and may involve other adjustments, such as converting between regional measurement systems or exchanging obscure pop culture references for ones appropriate for the target audience. And there's an addendum here. The trick to that is to ensure the reference is equally obscure and has the same effect both before and after, relative to the given audience. A comic British reference might be literally impossible to understand for a Japanese reader. So a localizer will attempt to find a common ground that clicks with the target audience without culturally undermining the text. Localization is hard. He admits it! Localization tends to be a much more controversial term because of how video game translation and consumer awareness of it has evolved over time. Despite misconceptions to the contrary, good localization will never violate the principles of translation listed above.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we can agree to that point. And the next question, what does good translation look like? Translation can be a murky concept. So murky. So first, I'll define a standard to measure against. Imagine if translation weren't necessary at all. In other words, imagine that the original writer is perfectly fluent in both languages and writes both versions personally, like some sort. And imagine he does it at the same time, upside down, like a motherfucking Da Vinci motherfucker. He didn't write that. I'm paraphrasing, but that creation, that creation, a perfect reflection of creator intent, is the standard to which translators must strive. A good translator, accompanied by their editor...
This is what all true warriors strive for.
A good translator, accompanied by their editor and QA staff, gets as close to that vision as possible. By the time they're finished, the only flaws in their work should belong to the creator, not themselves. Occasionally, a translator may even correct minor errors that the creator did not intend to be present in their creation, such as typos and inconsistencies. By extension, adding errors is a cardinal sin and a fundamental failure on the part of the translation team.
That's, I suppose, true,
I mean, I agree. I agree. It's something you shouldn't be doing, but
at the same time, it's highly possible that there could be just straight up misunderstandings. A good example I can think of in regards to like a misunderstanding of a translation is Lupin the Third: Castle of Cagliostro. Right. When Manga Entertainment released their English version in 2000, the English version was done by Neil Nadelman.
Yep.
And in the movie, Lupin and company are tracking down the starting point of very well-known and infamous counterfeit bills called, in the Japanese, they're called gotosatsu. Now, normally you would think, due to the fact that goats and rams are a consistent theme throughout the visuals of the film, it would be a translation. It would translate as goat bills. And that was actually what Manga Entertainment translated it as. But for the recent DVD and Blu-ray release from Discotek, it was retranslated by somebody else. I can't remember their name right now. But they retranslated it.
Josh Smitterson.
And they found out during the process of retranslating that Goto would actually not refer to goats, because Goto is not a Japanese loanword. Here, because if a Japanese person were to refer to a goat, they would refer to yagi, which is the Japanese word for goat. Instead, Goto should be translated as Gothic, referring to the Goths. So, yeah, that's a decent example of how it's not necessarily a failure, quote unquote, but it's like, well, it is technically speaking a failure, but it's something that's very easy to have a misconception about.
All right. Translators must be skilled writers, ideally even more skilled than the creators of the works they translate.
Calm down, Zeke.
Though this is not always possible. An excellent translator will see deeply into the creator's work and draw out the nuance and fine detail swelling there. And above all, translation is never a word-by-word conversion. This is one of the greatest translation myths and one of the most harmful. Translators do not convert words from one language to another. They convert ideas. This is why it's so important for them to understand creator intent. A word-by-word translation will always be a stiff, inferior product that betrays the original work and its readers.
I kind of get what they're going for here. And I do.
I don't know how you can argue that, because he's right. Like, translation
he is. I mean, it's true. A word-by-word translation can miss a lot of subtleties in, delivery and whatever. So yeah, never mind.
This is called "Why Did Atlas Release Such a Flawed Translation?" Although below it's called "How Did This Happen?" All right. Unfortunately, there's no way to know for sure without Atlas telling us themselves or one of the translation staff coming forward anonymously. However, there are some hints at what the underlying reasons may have been. And I like how I'm getting into this before I tell you what's wrong with it. But anyway. Number one, the translation team was massive.
Massive.
What?
Massive.
What'd you say, Kimo?
How long is the article?
Pretty long. It's our main topic.
Well,
don't worry about it too much.
Yeah. Unamba of Atlas has stated that Persona 5 boasted the most number of translators and editors on a team. I think there's an addendum here. Hold on. The use of most number of is indeed poor English. Consider the oddity of many number of. If it doesn't quite click for you, but we'll cut Namba some slack and blame the editors on Sony's blog.
I thought we weren't blaming anybody.
I thought that too. Anyway, but that sounds impressive, but it rings an instant alarm bells for anyone in the localization industry. It's like marketing your hit novel as being written by the greatest number of authors.
It's kind of true.
And Namba's claim checks out. Persona 5's credits lists a whopping 6 translators and 8 editors as having worked on the project's localization. Those 8 editors are especially alarming. Their job is to unify the translation, and that's hard enough under normal circumstances, but with more editors than translators, they're actually liable to worsen the stylistic inconsistencies. I think he's onto something there.
Yes.
Most things have like one editor, and it's to unify everything. It's to put it all in a consistent voice. But having 8 editors, while it might get work done, is too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Number 2, the release was delayed for localization reasons. In November of 2016, Atlus released a statement announcing that it would be pushing back the release of Persona 5 from February to April, pissing everyone off. Quote, "The Japanese release of Persona 5 smashed all our expectations, and as a company, we decided we owed our fans the very best effort to make Persona 5 our gold standard in localization. Practically, this means redoubling our QA and localization efforts, even returning to the studio to record previously unvoiced lines. We don't want to rush this game, and in this case, it's meant we needed more time to move the release back one last time to time. He didn't say that, I'm paraphrasing. Of special note is the mention that they would be returning to the studio. This implies that they had already finished recording voiced lines back in November of 2016, which necessarily required those lines to have been translated and edited by that point in time, which, by the way, was only 2 months after its Japanese release. I added that part.
Yeah.
I've long theorized, because... Now, I want to argue this point, not with the article, but with Atlus, that it was pushed back for localization reasons. Reviewers had copies as early as, like, late February. So I don't believe this statement. I think they pushed it back to get a better time slot.
Probably.
Yeah,
because it was sandwiched between Horizon Zero Dawn and Nier Automata.
Yeah, whereas when they pushed it to early April,
it right had April.
Yeah. But when they pushed it to early April, it basically had the first half of April to itself. I think
it's still going.
Yeah, but I think that was purely a business decision, but that's beside the point. Okay, I was just checking the Discord. Number 3, even voiced lines contain outright errors.
How dare?
Normally, a script will be adjusted during recording to better reflect character voice and fix lingering mistakes. Not so much with Persona 5. And then he links some tweets here, which I actually haven't read.
Let me go with the middle one here. Suguru Kamoshida was a scum.
Yeah. And then other ones are, it means they're holding nothing back and are serious to kill us. There's rarely a place that'll accept someone like you know. That's just kind of awkward.
That one's not too bad.
All these difficult-looking books were carelessly crammed in it. That's a little awkward. And that's not bad, it's just a little awkward.
It sounds like a line that was taken out of context to sound as awkward as possible.
It was a little too literal.
Yeah. You're done for along with this. You're done for along with this abominous world. Now, he has some words to say about the word abominous. But anyway.
Abominous.
Now, it's difficult to say exactly what happened. Perhaps there were unreasonable time constraints. Perhaps the localization team was underqualified. Perhaps Atlus had internal issues between its American and Japanese branches. It's not unheard of for international teams to cooperate poorly, and that often hurts localization efforts. Perhaps it was all of these at once.
Reminds me of when Wendy Lee was talking at, I think it was a convention about the English dub of Love Hina, which she directed. Apparently they had a producer from Japan in the booth at all times, overriding practically every single casting and directing decision that Wendy Lee made.
Right.
Which, if you've heard the Love Hina dub, you'll know is very, very, very evident in the final product.
However, there's one thing we know for sure. This was 100% avoidable and would have been avoided had the parties in charge cared enough.
See, there you go with judging the
There you go, making an ass out of you and Umption.
Yeah, it's like I'm fine with most of this, but, you know, there are places where it's very clear that this person is... It's understandable that they're upset about this. Like, you have a certain standard that you hold localizations to. I understand that. But you can't say... They say down below, I do not intend my statements to be a personal attack on the Persona 5 localization team. My criticism is of the character of the work, not the character of the people behind it. And yet here they are saying that the people who did the translation didn't care.
We'll get into that later. But the developer always has full control over the work.
I just didn't have a lot of stuff to add to this, but once you guys are done.
Yeah. In short, whoever was responsible simply thought they could get away with it. Next question. Why aren't more people complaining? Why don't more people care about the thing I care about? That's what I want to know. Where's all the noise? There have been complaints, especially by industry professionals. However, you'd be hard-pressed to find a major review site that actually makes note of the errors in Persona 5. And indeed, some people have said that the translation is fine, or even extremely good.
I mean, game critics are game critics. They're not English teachers.
That's true. So what gives? This is actually a chronic pattern from media translated from Japanese into English. Here's an abridged explanation of why that is.
You spoony bard.
Number one, Japanese media is relatively niche and started out even more so. For a long time, the only reason fans were able to consume Japanese media was due to the dedicated efforts of fan translators. The modern economic viability of Japanese media in the West is largely rooted in their efforts to bring Japanese content into other languages.
In regards to this whole bullet point here, after we're done with this whole article, there's actually an answer man that actually acts as a pretty good companion piece to this whole thing.
All right, we'll look into that later. But there's an addendum here. There's an addendum. It should not be underestimated just how much work this was, especially for video games. The translators have to get the translation into the game somehow, and Japanese programming practices are famously infuriating to deal with. And I think he meant infamously infuriating to deal with.
Oh yeah, considering that, I actually remember. I don't remember which game it was, but I think it was Final Fantasy VI, where the developers forgot to give the localizing team the source data. So the only way they could translate the game was by hacking it and just changing the text.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah,
fan translators rarely have professional experience or an expert understanding of Japanese, and fans were tolerant of mistakes. The following are hallmarks of the era: literal word-by-word translations, stilted writing that mimics Japanese sentence structure, stock translations of common phrases, which is a big trigger button for him, leaving Japanese words untranslated even when they have English equivalents, and translation errors.
Nakama.
Yeah. Number two, early official translation.
I bring up Nakama, and that's actually kind of funny. A recent chapter of One Piece actually had the word Nakama in a piece of dialogue.
Right.
But it actually had a side note in the actual original Japanese version saying that it should be read as crew.
Yeah.
And here's the funny thing. One Piece fans, particularly Japanese purists, have been trying to say for years, Nakama is untranslatable. It's a Japanese word that has so many different... it's like Eiichiro Oda would never want one particular translation, and yet here he is giving a particular translation.
Anyway, so the stock phrase, he links to the TB Trips article on Japanese stock phrases. I'll just read out a few. I'm sure if you're well familiar in Japanese media, you've heard these before. Things like, as expected from, bring it on, can't be bothered, too much trouble, don't decide that on your own or by yourself, don't screw around with me, don't say such stupid things, don't underestimate me, do your best or I'll do my best, eat this, even if you say that, for the greater good, here's the final blow, I am your opponent, I guess it can't. I guess it can't be helped. That's a huge one.
It can't. Oh my god.
I won't be helped. I won't forgive you. I won't let you do it. I won't lose. I'll never give up. I'm at my limit. Is this really okay? / are you sure you don't mind? Is what I'd like to say, but that's a big one.
I will protect you.
Yeah. It's none of your concern. I will definitely protect you. Listen to what other people say. Know there's still a way. Talking is useless. Thank goodness. That is a lie. That person. This is reality. That's my line. This and that. This is impossible. Where are you touching me? You're 100. You're 100 years too early for. You're a nuisance. You're too naive. What the hell is this? Okay, that's just English.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
I can't believe it.
Yeah. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting.
No, that's okay.
And so on and so forth. We get the idea.
That's all
that sort of shit. Yeah.
I'll only read off a few. Reads off all of them.
Well, I wanted to give them a good idea of it. Number 2, early official translations couldn't be trusted. If fan translations were often flawed, official translations were often downright incomprehensible. Side note, considering the mimetic line, all your base are belong to us, which comes from the 1992 translation of Zero Wing. But that wasn't the root of the problem. The root was this. The official translations sometimes sounded good. But while they sounded good, they were also often censored, altered to be more friendly in the West, or even completely rewritten. A new belief was born within a significant segment of the fan base. Translations that sounded good could not be trusted. Only fan translators were guaranteed to be faithful to the original creation. That they were often stilted and contained untranslated content was proof of this authenticity. And more importantly, it was proof that it could be identified without knowing Japanese. All it took was a glance, and anyone could tell.
Gentlemen,
what?
I was just quoting a dumbass mistranslated line from TV Nihon, which is a translation group that someone described TV Nihon as a translation group that likes to translate as little as possible.
Yeah.
Beautiful duet.
Anyway, a mindset that many might argue still persists to this day. Kevin.
What?
I think that's a mindset that many would argue persists to this day.
To a degree, yeah.
Yeah. Number 3, Japanese translation has a global audience. If English native fans felt starved for content translated into their native language, fans whose first language wasn't English were even more so. Many ended up consuming English translations in order to experience Japanese media in a language that they at least had some knowledge in, and this still happens. Skill levels vary, but speakers of English as a second language are understandably less likely to identify awkward English writing. In fact, flawed translations are often a blessing. The awkward wording, limited vocabulary, and stock lines that appeared in fan translations made the content much easier to understand for some non-native English speakers.
Can I punch this dude?
Yeah.
What? What'd you say?
No, I was just saying if I could punch it, just talking about non-natives like that.
Yeah. Number 4, video games are more than just text. This one's pretty simple. If a game is fun enough, it can distract from weak writing. When translated games were dubbed, talented voice actors are also able to supply intonation.
I mean, that's actually a good point. I mean, I guess if nobody talked about all those translation errors, then maybe that actually is, I guess that just, well, it just speaks for the game.
Yeah. When translated games are dubbed, talented voice actors are able to supply intonation towards awkward lines that make them seem less so. However, this greatly limits how good their performance can be and results in an inferior dub. The result of the above factors and more is that complaints about awkward literal translations are often countered with accusations of wanting to remove all references to Japanese culture. In Persona 5's case, there's one more factor. People are greatly upset by Atlus's streaming restrictions. Understandably, this has drawn attention away from the poor quality of the translation. In the final FAQ, can you show me what's wrong? Where are the problems? If you look below, you'll see a selector that will allow you to browse a list of errors. Accompanying each entry will be an explanation of what's wrong, and an effort has been made to keep excerpts spoiler-free. Before you dig in, consider checking out the other questions in the... Yeah, whatever. The errors listed below are a limited sample from a much larger collection and are confined primarily to the first 5 to 10 hours of this 100-hour-plus game. A note before we begin. While I am unimpressed by Persona 5's localization, my criticism is of the character of the work, not the character of the people behind it. Video game localization requires significant effort from many people, and it's impossible to know exactly which were responsible for the script's quality. The obvious accusation that the translators were terrible fails to account for who hired the translators, or how much time the translators were given, or whether the translators were fine but the editors were bad, and so forth. As such, I want to be completely clear, I do not intend my statements to be a personal attack on the Persona 5 localization team, but merely a critique of their final product. I also want to acknowledge that Persona 5 does contain some inspired lines, and those deserve credit. I very much wish that they had been the norm rather than the standout exception. My hope is that what follows will help people to demand better of publishers, ultimately resulting in better games for everyone.
Okay. Again, this guy makes great points. His overall approach to this is pretty fucking spot on. Translators translate ideas, not words. A localization should ideally give the same experience in English that it does to a Japanese player. You know, he makes a lot of great points here. But again, much like that Crunchyroll article, the person writing it, now admittedly, this guy does not have nearly as much of a problem as this as that person writing the Crunchyroll article. This guy is being much more respectful about it, but he does occasionally lapse into blaming, into trying to place blame, and like assuming the character of the people behind this, like saying it's clear that they didn't care or something like that. And I'm like, who are you to really judge that? Really? Like, let's be real here. Who are you to judge that from an outsider's perspective? They could have been slaving away on this for friggin' 90-hour weeks, trying to figure out how to get this damn game out. Like, you really have no idea what they were under. So,
anyway,
back off.
So, we're gonna go through his list of errors. It's really well presented in script format, and he even included the Japanese text if you're fluent enough to detect problems that way yourself. But here we go. Are you Prosecutor Sai Nijima? There's a call from your director. Hurry and get it over with. To be frank, you're being an inconvenience. The problem is a translation error. The detective isn't psychic. He's actually referring to a previous call that he had received, not the one that Sai is about to receive. And his irate command to get it over with does not refer to the phone call, but to the interrogation about to take place.
That's fair.
That's fair. That's fair, but once again, it's one of those things that I don't think you're really going to pick up on while you're playing.
I suppose.
Yeah, it is an error, I will admit that, but I don't think it's any kind of game breaker. Next error.
Actually, I don't think any of the errors are actually game breakers.
Yeah, that's true, but I'll get to that. Character A, are you a part-timer? I'm surprised this place can afford one. Character B, that's exactly the case. Translation error. This was translated exactly backwards. Character B is actually saying that the person addressed is not a part-timer. Okay,
yeah, I will definitely give them that one, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big issue.
That's an error. Number 3, character A, I can't believe you mistook my An for someone like her. Translation error. This is backwards. The character in question actually mistook someone like her for character A's An, not the other way around. Again, yeah. Again, the target of the sentence is confused here. But again, I think it's subtle enough that you're just not going to pick up on it unless you're really looking for this stuff. Anyway, this one's longer. Sojiro, well then, let's go introduce ourselves properly to the staff about your transfer. To reiterate, just so we're clear, you will immediately be expelled if you cause any problems. Honestly, I hesitated on accepting someone like you, but there were some circumstances on our side. You might have done a variety of things in hiding in your hometown, but you will behave yourself here. And I'm going to turn off the music because it's distracting me. Scattered dialogue. The problem is scattered dialogue. Readers tend to be pretty smart, so most will figure out what's going on here. But this is still pretty much nonsense. What on earth does it mean to introduce yourself about something? The principal's lines are awful as well. He starts off almost coherent before descending into grammatical incorrectness and finally gibberish. You might have done a variety of things in hiding in your hometown.
Yeah, to be fair, that's a bit of a weird line.
Yeah. Like, you can perfectly understand that thought, but the line itself is awkward. And
interestingly, he actually gave an alternate version of what this line might look like.
Right, I'll read that. Well then, let's go introduce ourselves to the staff at your new school, shall we? Now allow me to make myself perfectly clear, cause any trouble, and you will be expelled on the spot. Frankly, I had serious reservations about accepting you at all, but well, these are rather special circumstances. Do not think we'll be so lax as you're used to back home. Misdemeanor is not tolerated at Shujin. I will admit that flows way better.
It does. It gets across the exact same information, but it's proper English.
Yeah. Next example. Now listen up, don't even think of doing anything stupid. Still, you were expelled once already to think you'd re-enroll at a different one. It's not like anyone will be sympathetic with you. If that's what it was like at school, people might say stuff about me in the future too. Again, scattered dialogue. These 4 lines fail to convey a coherent progression of thought. Shuffle them in any order you please and they'll make just about the same degree of sense. The human brain is excellent at pulling meaning out of nonsense, but this isn't meant to be a puzzle. It's supposed to be enjoyable dialogue in one of the best RPGs of the decade. The first line is more or less acceptable.
Well, I don't think everyone's going to agree on that. I would.
Italian chef kiss.
You think it should be a puzzle?
No, I mean a Persona being best RPG of the decade.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure a lot of people have different opinions on that.
Yeah. First line is more or less acceptable. It was included for context. The second line, first off, this line starts off with still, which indicates an incoming contradiction to what was said before, but instead it doubles down by reinforcing the previous statement. The use of re-enroll is misleading. He isn't enrolling at the same institution, and the reference to a different one never states what the one even is. It's a school. The third line, be sympathetic with, is a terrible way to say sympathize. But even had that not been an issue, this line just doesn't flow from the previous one. And the fourth line, here we conclude with a non sequitur. What is happening with the verb tenses? What is meant by it's like at school? How does that connect with the previous point about sympathy?
Let's read an alternate version.
And this is his alternate version. Now listen up. Don't even think of pulling anything stupid, got it? Honestly, I can't believe you'd enroll at another school after being expelled. You know what kind of treatment you can expect with a mark like that on your name. And going by our reception at the school, this could be hell in my reputation, too. Now, that was a much more logical progression of thought.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Next example. The following is all said by the same character, but some lines are omitted. Are you hallucinating from an overdose? I won't put up with you if you're simply joking around. It's true that what he did were deplorable crimes from indulging his desire. He confessed to it all. I doubt something as dangerous as your group could have been pulled off with orthodox methods. Skillful infiltrations and escapes to all manner of places. There's even the possibility that you used special tools and had someone who manufactured them. There are many more events that I must inquire on. Lies and false accounts are eventually exposed. Start by telling me what you all schemed. But how did you discover such horrible deeds that were hidden all these years in such a short time? Fine, continue telling me about Madarame's case. Keep it concise and only of the truth. The problem? Everything.
At least he's not messing around here.
Persona 5 contains an interrogation scene split into several parts, and it suffers from the most consistently poor translation of possibly any scene in the game. All of the lines seen above are from that scene, and all are spoken by the same character. This character is supposed to be intelligent, well-spoken, and insightful, but readers of the English translation would be forgiven for thinking she's one light bulb short of a cutlery set. For context, cutlery sets aren't supposed to have light bulbs. The above lines lack personality. They flow poorly, even in context, and are worded unnaturally. People don't speak like this, even in fiction. Characterization and reader understanding are both harmed, and the creator's intent is not conveyed. Your thoughts?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Well, here's again, it wasn't something I noticed. It's only when I'm looking back on it now, with it excerpted out of context. Well, I mean, it's in context. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Out of the game itself, that I see. Oh, this is kind of awkward.
Yeah. Were those lines voiced?
Yes.
Yeah, it might help that the actor managed. He mentioned previously that an actor can give good intonation to make a line flow a lot better in English. So I think that might be the case here.
Nonsense Part 4. Character A. Character A. Me near okay. Problem. This isn't English.
Me near, okay?
In the above lines, a romantic interest is asking if it's okay for her to move physically closer to the protagonist. I can't guarantee that I understand what the...
Hang on. Read that line again, please.
In the above lines, a romantic interest is asking if it's okay for her to move physically closer to the protagonist.
The one that was not correct English.
Me near, okay?
That actually might be from one of the demons, and a lot of demons in Shin Megami Tensei have incorrect grammar for.
No. I know this. I know what this is. Futaba. I know this line. I can't guarantee that I understand what the translator was going for here, but they seem to have written the caveman version of the awkward but more understandable "for me to move closer, is that okay?" A better writer might translate it as, is it okay if I scooch over? Or maybe, okay if I get close. There are dozens of excellent alternatives, but the translation didn't make use of any of them. And this
this isn't English.
Yeah. And in the Reddit thread about this article, this was the most controversial entry because
what was the name of the character that Futaba was talking to?
The protagonist.
Me Futaba, you homeboy.
Many people thought that this line was written this way to express her sheltered personality and whatnot. So there's that argument, which is fine. I don't think that's a problem. I don't think this is a problem. Like, you get it. I think I don't know why you threw this one in here, but anyway. Next example. The following lines are not related to each other. Suguro Kamoshida was a scum. Your luggage arrived earlier. I left them over there. Forgiving him was never the option. It means they're holding nothing back and are serious to kill us. The problem? Multiple. The noun form of scum is almost never used as if it were countable. The plural of scum is scum, not scums. He is scum. They are scum. Glaring errors like this as a knocks the reader right out of their immersion, which makes them especially important to fix before release. The second line contains the same type of mistake as the first. Luggage is uncountable, and thus cannot be referred to as them. Doing so is akin to saying sunshine are warm instead of sunshine is warm. The third line, the option, should be an option. As for the fourth line, I can't even comprehend how this made it into the game. Aside from the translators, editors, hypothetical QA completely failing to notice that this line is borderline gibberish, it's even voiced, which means that the character's voice actor was recorded saying this out loud in a room full of people.
It means they're holding nothing back and are serious to kill us. Honestly, it's not that bad.
It means they're holding nothing back and are serious to kill us.
It's really not that bad. Couple of word changes and it's perfectly fine.
Well, that's his problem.
Not a couple of words. He says borderline gibberish, but
okay. Yeah, it's not. He's going a little farther. It's not borderline gibberish, but I agree that it should have been rewritten to something.
It probably.
Next example. These following lines are also not related to each other. Are you skipping out on the volleyball rally? I guess I expected from you, transfer. Is this some kind of filming? Who's in charge here? Damn it, where are we? Is this some kind of TV set? I feel a murderous intent. You're done for along with this abominous world.
Oh boy, are we going to get into a thing now?
The problem is multiple. The critique. The first line manages to bundle a stock translation phrase with a strange, apparently truncated form of transfer student. He has a thing against stock translation phrases, but my thing about that is that, like, they're not inaccurate. They're just common.
Yeah. Like, people happen to say these things a lot. So,
well here's the thing is that Japanese, English is a very expressive language.
Yeah.
Like, we have a lot of words. A lot of words relative to other languages. You can say the same thing in a million different ways. But in some languages, that's just not how it works. Like, how you say something is how you say something. And, like, translating this way, you can call it a stock phrase, but it's not inaccurate. Anyway. The second line is highly unnatural. Film shoot, TV shoot, or almost any replacement for filming would improve it immensely. The third line manages to mess up film terminology in yet another way. A TV set is a physical television, i.e. a box with a screen in which one watches TV. They wanted movie set or film set. What they said was TV set. You can't be at a TV set. It's an object, not a place. The fourth line is likely to fly under the radar of those accustomed to bad translations of shonen anime, but it's rather unnatural. Nobody ever says, I feel an intent. Consider also that English has a perfectly serviceable word in bloodlust. I guess so. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know. Like, here, if I knew Japanese, I could probably argue this, but I don't. So I'm just like, well, maybe that is what they're saying. I don't know. And for the fifth line, abominous is not, in fact, a real word. Horrendous, yes. Abominable, also yes. But alas, never the twain shall meet. Or maybe not. We have enough words for terrible things in the English language. Now, one possible explanation might be that the speaker was simply making up a word for comedic effect, or that it's a quirk of their character. Unfortunately, neither is the case. The context is supposed to be serious and dramatic, not comedic, and the character has no such quirk. And I find that highly abominous.
I'm going to start using abominous just to spite this.
No. Me too. Grab bag 3 lines are not related to each other. What troublemakers that bother King Kamoshida with trifle matters?
Okay, yeah, that one's... Oh, boy.
At this rate, it'd be pointless how much I contribute to the school. There's some grammar issue there. It'd be pointless how much. To think that... To think there even exists a thing such as this here. It is nothing short of an abomination. One might even call it abominous.
He's never gonna let go of that world, huh?
Yeah, I agree that
Forever.
I agree that this is weird grammar. To think there even exists such a thing. I can't even say it right. To think
there even exists a thing such as this here.
Yeah, that's just. Just to say,
just contracted a whole shitload.
Yeah.
To think that this even exists. Boom. I did that.
Yeah, it's too many words. Too many words for that thought. Just to say heavy rain, as many things fall as there are countries in the world. I'm not even sure what they're saying. So Makoto Sis is that lady who's overflowing with the aura of a capable woman. Multiple problems. First line, unless the speaker literally means a matters of dessert, they want trifling, not trifle. Additionally, this line uses the best avoided translationism of what noun. And then, as an addendum, he puts the dictionary definition of trifle. Just
a dessert. A dessert typically consisting of plain or sponge cake, often soaked with wine or spirits, such as brandy or rum, and topped with layers of preserves, custard, and cream.
Okay, now you're making me hungry. Second line. This is an unclear grammatical mess. What is happening with the tenses? That's the. That's the. It'd be pointless how much I.
Yeah.
Yeah. Third line.
Yeah.
Third line, this is a victim of poor translation. It's both overly vague and extremely unnatural. Yeah, that one was. I almost feel it'd be better if I read the line and then the critique. I'll get to that. Fourth line, the speaker is attempting to say that every country has its own way of saying it's raining cats and dogs, but readers would have to squint hard and maybe tilt their heads to pick up on that. This is an extremely literal translation. The fifth line, I don't know which capable woman had her aura stolen so Makoto's sister could overflow with it, but I guarantee she'd be happier if this line had been better worded.
Okay.
Well, that's the thing, is I'm like, yeah, you can read it that way, but I didn't.
I don't know which capable woman had her aura stolen.
I like his sense of humor.
That's
right,
fair.
so I'm gonna do a better way, which is read the line and then read the critique. Okay.
The line.
The line. I guess trash will never be any more than trash. You don't have any remorse for what you did. The first line displays a serious editing error. Any more than should merely be any more than.
Yeah.
He healed himself. Is it because he ate those inside there? The second line is just poor translation and lackluster editorial oversight. It's hard to imagine writing this to be even vaguer than it already is. He ate those inside there means almost nothing. Japanese gets away with this because of fundamental differences in how speakers communicate, but English gets no such pass.
No such pass.
Phew, at least we avoided the worst case scenario of being reported arbitrarily. The third line is awkward. People don't talk like this. Even just the two-word combination of reported arbitrarily shows up fewer than 1,000 times in the 50 to 100 billion web pages Google has indexed. And most results are from medical or scientific texts, not casual conversation. One first-page result is actually from Persona 5 itself. That's a weird measuring stick, but okay. Fourth line. I said hello. 07734. If you read the numbers upside down, they spell out the word hello. This really would have been better had the font been different. In the game's text, 07734 does not spell out hello no matter how you rotate or flip it. Unfortunately, that takes away of the humor of the pun and means it'll be lost on people who haven't already encountered it before. This isn't unforgivable, but the font issues hurt an otherwise reasonable adaptation of the original pun.
Oh no, not font issues.
Font issues. I mean, sure, but who doesn't know that?
Yeah.
That
one's kind of splitting hairs, I think.
A public transit bus was driven down an opposing lane with its customers still in it. The fifth line takes the cake by barely resembling the original Japanese. To start with, this line is spoken by a newscaster in the background and is supposed to be conveyed in an even, professional manner. The exclamatory panicked tone is a fabrication not present in the original. It's also written in very poor English. A natural phrasing that does not fix the fundamental interpretation issue might be, a city bus was driven against the flow of traffic with its passengers still inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next one.
Grab 5.
It's as if they're same yet mirrored. The first line is poor English, as if they're same. What awful society it's become. You better not get dragged into any trouble either. The second line, also poor English. What awful society. This rain is incredible. I hope it doesn't ruin the train schedule. The third line is a good example of how people don't speak. It isn't even difficult to fix. I hope it doesn't delay the trains. One simple solution. I hope the trains run on time is another. It means that cats are so resilient that they wouldn't die even if you killed them. For the fourth line, there was almost certainly a way to render this line without invoking Fate Stay Night levels of mimetic paradox of redundancy. People die when they are killed.
Just because you're not wrong doesn't mean you're right.
You're right.
Oh no, the line was just because you're right doesn't mean you're correct.
Yeah. To clarify, that line probably should have been translated as "You may be right, but that's irrelevant" or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Fifth line. Thieves who steal from others need to be severely punished. I guess the fifth line feels obliged to leave. I guess the fifth line feels obliged to leave an exception for thieves who don't steal from others. Perhaps they only steal things they already own.
That's mine. Give it back.
Tempt me. Yeah, that's. Yeah. Next examples.
Oh boy. Yeah, I can get this one. Yeah.
The following are in-game items: fried bread, jam bread, yakisoba pan, and the following is a line of dialogue. The school store is always out of yakisoba pan, no matter what time I go. Inconsistent localization. The Japanese word for bread is pan, which is borrowed from the Portuguese pão, itself derived from the Latin panis, similar to the French pain. That is to say, there's absolutely no reason to use yakisoba pan instead of yakisoba bread, especially if the translation also used fried bread and jam bread, both of which contain pan in Japanese. Also, consider that gyodon was translated as beef bowl, even to the point of awkwardness, like a beef bowl shop.
Okay.
For readers with no knowledge of Japanese, the juxtaposition of pan and bread as if they were different things is likely to suggest that yakisoba pan is actually a sheet of metal used for baking something called yakisoba.
A yakisoba pan.
You know, I'm...
To be fair, I had a little bit of an issue with this with Sentai Filmworks' dub of Clannad of Clannad. Now, let's be fair here. The Clannad dub has a shitload of problems as it is. But one of the issues I had is that Nagisa's parents in that dub run a bread shop. They are bread bakers, as they say themselves. And yet, Nagisa's favorite food is, quote, anpan, which could be translated as bean bread, red bean paste bread, whatever the fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like
it's just the same issue.
Like, here's the thing, though. If you're like us and you know what it means, then this isn't an issue. But yeah, I mean, for the purposes of localization, if somebody didn't know that they were that they were the same thing, they might think that they're different things, and that is a problem. I will admit. They should have they should have all been pan, or they should have all been bread. All right, next issue. Okay. Character A. Now then, the HMS Dreadnought is said to be a revolutionary ship built by the British Royal Navy. It was so grand that the Japanese word dokyu, massive, takes its do from a word dreadnought. Do you get it? Let me know if there's anything else I can help explain for you. The problem...
Okay. Oh my god, yeah.
Ineffective localization. Generally speaking, readers require a translation because they don't understand the original language.
Can you just fucking explain it in the line?
How then are they supposed to make sense of the above? You need significant Japanese language skills to know that the Japanese word for dreadnought is a loan word from English and is written as dokyu, whatever the fuck, which romanizes to doredonotto. That's fine.
Doredonotto.
Yeah, doredonotto, which is where the do comes from. Readers won't understand this, and that means the localization has failed at the most basic level. Japanese culture should not be removed from the game, but it needs to be presented more effectively than it is here. Failing to communicate foreign concepts is as bad or worse than removing them entirely.
Yeah, this is just a straight up failure here. I can't even defend this to any degree. It's a straight up failure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh dear, phrase abuse.
These lines are
not related.
Yeah, and he addresses them all at once, so I'm just going to read them all. Are you really a bad person, as the rumor says? You just don't seem like it. Could that rumored cat be somewhere nearby? I want that rumored medicine. The troublemaker, the girl of rumor, and the infamous transfer student. Interesting combination. There is a faint tickle in the deep recesses of my nose. Could this be the pollen of rumor?
The rumor come out. Does Bruno Mars is gay?
Yeah. The problem, an air of rumor. Rumors play a prominent role in Persona 5, but these translations are simply terrible. For the first one alone, consider how much of an improvement it is to exchange "Are you really a bad person, as the rumor says" with "Are you really as bad as people say?" And then consider that professional voice actors had to say these lines aloud during recording. You can listen to On's voice actress attempt to sell the first line in her character trailer, but the handicap of poor writing really hurts the performance.
Oh boy.
That's
a link to the YouTube video.
No, I'm trying to think of the actress's name. It's the one I like. It's fucking Karapika. What the fuck?
Erica Harlicker.
Yeah. Okay, just being thorough.
Neato.
And somebody's printing something. I'm gonna grab that. I think. Is somebody printing something? I can't even tell. Oh no! Hold on. Nope. Wait, where is it?
Technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Huh. It looks like they attempted to print something, but there was no paper in there. So I was just hearing the thing go off.
Okay.
Interesting.
Phrase abuse 2!
No, I haven't read the thing. Oh, wait, no, yes, I did. All right, phrase abuse 2. Not related to each other. You haven't voted until now? That's problematic as a member of society, you know. I also want to point out that line is way later in the game than he says it is, but whatever. While you were guys off having fun, things here have gotten a bit more problematic. Your heart is more problematic than we had anticipated. Well, I'm not surprised. Women aren't drawn to problematic punks like you. I had set it up to deal with some problematic paparazzi, but never thought it'd come in so handy.
I'm sorry, I can't. I'm sorry, I can no longer, due to the internet, I can no longer read the word problematic without reading it in all caps with every single letter spaced out. Problematic.
Overuse and misapplication of vocabulary. For whatever reason, this translation has a fixation on the word problematic. Some instances in the game are fine, but many, such as those above, only make the lines sound more unnatural. Stock translation. It can't be helped. It can't be helped. I suppose I don't leave much of an impression. A treasure hunt? Then it can't be helped, eh? Can't be helped, eh? Here, this is it, though. I suppose I can't conceal my wealth in class, can I? Oh, well, it can't be helped. I guess it can't be helped now. Well, I guess that can't be helped. This can't be helped. It's a small room, so I should be pardoned. So, me being right next to you, can't be helped. Can't be helped in order to ascertain the truth. Time for you to go to hell. Repetitive stock translation. Above are 10 examples of the stock translation phrase, it can't be helped, with many more instances in the script than I can even list. While using the phrase is fine on occasion, relying on it by default is lazy and results in dull, repetitive writing. About as dull and repetitive as if it were done by a machine, in fact. Running the second to last line through Google Translate yields it cannot be helped in order to ascertain the truth, as the second suggestion, which is almost word for word identical to what ended up in the game. As anyone in the translation industry will attest, Google Translate's Japanese to English translations of creative writing are generally nonsense.
Oh boy. That is actually pretty bad.
Also consider, how often do you hear actual human beings use this phrase? I mean, I don't know. Sometimes. If I have, it's probably anime's fault.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. All right. Stock translation 2. As expected from Anijima. So what do you say? I don't think it's a bad deal for either of us. And she's looking down on us other girls, right? As to be expected from a foreigner. As to be expected from you, Mr. Shido, you are truly a reliable man. As expected from someone who's been through this 3 times already. It's so crowded, just as expected. This is the perfect place to start an investigation. As expected from you, Joker. As expected of Christmas Eve.
Even is that last one?
Every single one of these lines could have been rewritten not only to avoid the stock phrase, but better convey the creator's intent. Stock phrases mask character voice by making everyone sound homogenous and mechanical.
Can you say Sasuga?
Yeah.
That's the word that he put down there, Sasuga.
Yeah. I agree to an extent. Again, sometimes what they're saying is what they're saying, but when you rely on a stock phrase too much, it can harm characterization.
Grammar 1.
Your rehabilitation determines if ruin can be stopped, yet such a feat cannot be done by you alone. But today, you entered a partnership with someone who awoke to the same power, haven't you? Several lines omitted. Indeed, you should be prepared to use even myself or your ambitions will not come to fruition. Multiple basic grammar errors. Nice variety of errors on display here. The first half of this line is awkward, and the second half is incorrect. One cannot do a feat. Substitute accomplished and see what a difference it makes. And the use of feat is dubious in the first place. Rehabilitation is a process, not a feat. It's the completion of rehabilitation that might be considered one. For the second line, elementary verb tense agreement failure. Haven't you should be didn't you. This line also follows the contradiction in the previous line, yet with yet another contradiction, but, which makes it unclear exactly what the speaker's point is. And for the third line, it's incorrect to use myself if I didn't come earlier in the sentence. It should be instead be me. Compare I am not myself to he is not me. Yeah, it's just basic grammar. And character voice. These lines are not sequential. They really should just leave her alone. It's not like she's getting in the way of their lives. It's pay per visit, though, so you don't got to worry about any bullshit contracts or nothing. Just because you seem to be taking school seriously doesn't mean I'm not keeping an eye on you, got it? Things might be getting turbulent at school, but you just need to keep your head down, all right? Inconsistent character voice. Here's a quiz. Each line above is said by one of two characters. Which lines belong to which character? Make a mental note of your guess before continuing on. Are you ready? Here's the answer key. Line 1 was character A, line 2 was character B, and lines 3 and 4 were character A. So the only one that was different was line 2. Yep, all of them are the same character except for the second, and yet character voice is so inconsistent that the third line feels much closer to the second than the first or fourth, even though the second is by an entirely different character. That is a huge problem. Note that I even made the quiz easier by including one of the few characters to possess a distinct voice, namely Ryuji, who is character B, notable as having received perhaps the most personality of any character in the translation. Character A was Sojiro. Most other characters don't suffer from just a lack of consistency, but a lack of a voice that makes them sound virtually interchangeable. This is a significant step down from the Japanese version. I wish you would elaborate on this point more, but
yeah, I'm not, as someone who has not played Persona 5, I don't really get what the issue is here.
As someone who has not played the Japanese version, I get what he's getting at, but I don't get the full issue.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty much the end of this.
The examples.
Yeah, the examples.
Right. And then he gets into
defenses of bad translation.
The defenses of bad translation. And I'm going to take a drink from my drink because my throat is getting dry because I've been doing nonstop reading.
Well, not non-stop, like occasional stop. Stop.
Be a fucking smart ass, Kevin. Here's some common defenses of bad translations. I prefer literal translations because they're more faithful. This is a pretty common view, and it seems to make a lot of sense. However, there's a problem with it, and it stems from the following commonly held belief that translation is about words. But translation, as discussed earlier, is really about ideas. This can be a bit confusing to anyone who hasn't thought about the distinction before. Words are basically convenient common terms for certain concepts, which people put together as building blocks to express larger ideas in. Languages form when different groups don't agree on which words correspond to which concepts, but those concepts themselves are universal. Some languages make it harder to express certain concepts than others do. One language might require one word, where another language might take 5, but those concepts can always be explained. If this weren't true, it would be impossible to learn another language. To phrase it another way, words are just a way for a person to take their ideas and pass them on to other people. If there were no other people in the world, there wouldn't be a need for any words, but there would still be a need for ideas.
This entire section with defenses of bad translation actually pretty much acts as the basis for the Answer Man article, Why Are Common English Loanwords Mistranslated So Often?
Right, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
All right. Original idea to words, literal, if you translate it literally, is translated words. But the original idea made into words, translated faithfully, is a translated idea. The processes behind a literal translation and faithful translation look fundamentally different. Namely, faithful translators need to understand the original creator's ideas and methodology before they can write anything, while literal translators will just skip to the word phase, causing a degradation in the quality in the process. Poor translators worship words. Excellent translators respect words, but worship ideas. Defense number 2. The language is a bit stiff, but everything's still accurate. Unfortunately, while it's possible for a translation to be stiff but understandable, stiff but accurate translations are pretty much a myth. There are several reasons for this. The first is that writing ability is strongly linked to translation skill, and someone who produces stiff translations is therefore more likely to misunderstand the original text, or they might understand the original but make a mistake when conveying it into the destination language. Another reason is the fundamental nature of language. Stiff translations generally suffer from being overly literal, and overly literal translations treat every language as one-to-one transformations of each other, as if every language can express the exact same concepts in the exact same way. It's easy to prove that language does not work like this. Consider the Japanese word ao, which is a color that encompasses both blue and green. English has separate words for both colors, meaning there's no easy one-to-one conversion between Japanese and English. The translator will always have to take context into account to decide whether to translate ao as blue or green. If you're mathematically inclined, you might recognize this as a form of the pigeonhole principle. If you're not mathematically inclined, don't worry, it's barely even math. The pigeonhole principle is just a fancy way of saying that if you have more items than buckets to put them in, some of the items will have to share a bucket. So if you have to use your hands to carry 3 apples across the room, one of your 2 hands is going to have to carry an extra apple. Similarly, translation sometimes requires you to take a word from a single bucket language and put it into a 2-bucket language, or vice versa. Coming across concepts that don't translate well into a particular language is common for translators. When this happens, they have to consider context and choose the option that best matches the original creator's intent. Creator intent is also the third reason that stiff translations cannot be accurate. An accurate translation conveys more than just raw information. It conveys character, voice, personality, and the charm of the author's style. A translation's accuracy is judged by how similar it is to what the creator would write if fluent in both languages. Unless the creator had intended the text to be stiff, producing a stiff translation is inaccurate and a failure. And finally, while it's possible to detect overt errors, it's impossible to judge whether something is fully accurate just by a translation. Check out the first 3 error samples in the section above for a practical example of this.
Which we did.
Defense number 3. I like that I can feel the Japanese behind the translation.
I can feel the Japanese. The Japanese needs an adult.
It's definitely great to get the experience of cultural aspect. To experience the cultural aspect of a piece of foreign writing. However, that foreign nature should be expressed by the text's content, not by the text's awkwardness. This goes back to creator intent. If the original creator were perfectly fluent in English, would they have made their writing intentionally awkward just so readers could feel how foreign it is? Probably not, and thus, neither should the translator. Defense number 4. Yeah, this game is massive, so mistakes were bound to happen. This also sometimes takes the form of, you're just cherry-picking the bad parts. This argument is reasonable to an extent. Translation is difficult, and mistakes do happen, but those mistakes should be on the order of 1 misplaced comma per several thousand sentences, or a typo every 100,000 characters. If the mistakes are frequent and noticeable, then they're unacceptable. Consider, how would readers react if George R.R. Martin released his next book and every 3rd sentence was awkward, with every 5th sentence containing an objective error? Writing is hard, and his novels are long after all. Yet I doubt anyone would claim those mistakes were fine. And the final defense. There's nothing wrong! You're a big meanie!
May have been some slight paraphrasing there.
At the end of the day, this is the hardest defense to address, yet at the same time, it's also the easiest. One reason someone might use this defense is that they genuinely don't see a problem, because to them, those flaws aren't flaws, and that's valid so long as they accept other people's right to believe otherwise. Another reason stems from the fear people have to acknowledge mistakes in the things they like. After all, liking something flawed might mean one's opinion is bad or wrong, or maybe acknowledging the mistakes will ruin the enjoyment entirely. The default response is often defensiveness. Those mistakes aren't serious, or they don't exist at all. If this instinct ever grabs you, just remember, it's entirely possible to enjoy a translated media and still demand the publishers do better, because the work deserves it. So do we. Wrapping up, in conclusion, I have not listed every mistake in Persona 5, or even a substantial fraction of them. I've also been forced to focus on the translation aspect of localization, which means I haven't properly addressed other failings, such as bad typography, untranslated images and video, and voiced lines that are unsubbed even when Japanese audio is enabled. Keeping in mind that a lack of subtitles isn't a problem only for people who prefer Japanese voicing. Anyone who has hearing loss is affected regardless of their language settings, and roughly 1 in 5 people has hearing loss of some form. Nor have I dedicated time to the sometimes strange handling of honorifics. For those aspects and more, I'll have to merely conclude by saying that there are a few areas in which Persona 5's localization is not lacking. That I have to say that about such a great game is unfortunate. If this bothers you even slightly, I encourage you to tweet at Atlas, as well as discuss the problems with people you know. Fans deserve better, and publishers like Atlas will continue to produce subpar localizations if nobody speaks up.
Yeah.
And thus, we've come to the end of it all.
Well, this one anyway.
Oh, here
So, everybody, discuss your thoughts while I give my voice a rest.
Yeah, I've pretty much made my point very clear here, but I actually do want to read Justin Savakis's answer man on English loanwords being mistranslated, because this actually is another aspect of localization that can be a bit of a difficult issue, and it plays directly into the whole translators being very literal, particularly fan translators.
Right.
And it does actually explain why a lot of people would be fine with a lot of the weird translation mistakes in Persona 5. Okay, so Answer Man with Justin Savakis.
Wait, before we get into this, we should take a quick break because I really have to piss.
Yeah, okay, fair.
All right. So, we're taking a quick break, and we will be right back on the Baka Gaijin show. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Taking a break on the Baka Gaijin show. Boom, boom. Let me use the bathroom. Right back.
Go lay down. Go lay down, Max. Come on.
Someone here. Farming for XP. So who's still there? It's just me. I hope she cuts out this part. Probably not. Welcome back.
Oh, wait. I fucking sat on something.
Okay.
Shit. I'm back.
I'm back.
Indeed, I've returned.
I have returned as well.
Being spoils from the new world.
I'm still here.
Nope.
Haven't gone anywhere.
I was going to make ramen, but that would have taken too long.
Yeah. All right. So y'all ready?
Fine.
Yeah.
All right. Let's return to the Baka Gaijin show.
Huzzah.
3, 2, 1. And welcome back to the Baka Gaijin show. When we last left off, Kevin was about to do some dumb shit or whatever.
Moving off of the Persona 5 problems thing, the Persona 5 problems website did mention a very good point of fan translators tending to translate very literally and trying to keep things as close to the word of the Japanese language as opposed to the intent of the Japanese language.
Exactly.
And Justin Zavakis, amazingly, around the same time that that article came out, posted an answer man that directly spoke about literal translations, loan words, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to read that off. Juliana asks, why, when handling an English loanword, do translators so often use the literal English source word rather than the meaning of the word most commonly rather than the meaning the word most commonly has in the actual Japanese usage? I can't think of a recent show that didn't render jusu, soda or soft drinks, as juice, or hippu, but as hip, which ruined a couple of the dirty jokes in To Be Hero. And just yesterday, I saw an episode that translated spatsu, shorts in this case, as spats, which made the line nonsensical. Translating feministo, gallant or chivalrous, as feminist has also led to some unintentional humor in several series. Coming from amateurs with a weak grasp of colloquial Japanese, I could understand the confusion, but I see this all the time in official, professionally produced subtitles. Justin replies,
"What's the deal with all this? Tell us, Justin.
Tell us, please." To be fair, this guy's had a long history in the industry, so yeah, whatever.
As a video person, let's be clear about that.
Justin replies, "This drives me nuts as well, and it happens all the time." Buduma gets
all the time, you say?
All the time. Buduma gets translated as...
it can't be helped.
Buduma gets translated as bloomers, despite in no way resembling the clothing piece we refer to as bloomers. Mecha becomes maker, even though it clearly means manufacturer. Even English expressions like donmai get translated as don't mind, as if people actually talk that way in English. For the record, don't mind would probably be translated as don't worry about it or don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
Western otakus sometimes complain about translations in spectacularly misguided ways, but these are clearly wrong and need to be corrected. Ultimately, this is a clear and obvious mistake that absolutely falls under the purview of translators and their editors. While on occasion one of these issues is caused by oversight over translations by a Japanese licensor who doesn't know English well enough, that's pretty rare. Frankly, I sort of see this as a side effect of anime fandom at large being so indescribably kvetchy when it comes to subtitles. When anime was still a new thing in the US, translations generally fell into one of two categories: the sort that were translated like foreign films and literature, and the sort that were translated by fanboys. Neither were very literal. The professional subs tended to heavily adapt Japanese concepts and jokes into something Westerners would understand. The emphasis wasn't so much on maintaining the exact meaning of the original lines, so much as giving the English-speaking viewer a consistent, smooth reading experience that approximated a Japanese person viewing in Japanese. A few companies in this era, ADV especially, were run by fans, who in that era tended to be a little overzealous about putting themselves into a script. Jokes were added, dialogue was punched up, and song lyrics were translated by ear and tended to be completely wrong. The industry eventually curbed this practice, and as fandom matured, things settled down into a relaxed version of the literary translation method. Nobody kept name suffixes, and jokes were usually modified to work in English, but overall things didn't diverge too often. Real quick, that is what you should ideally have in a localization.
Right.
Going back to the article.
Yeah.
When the digital fan sub scene exploded in the mid-2000s, fans suddenly started demanding a lot more literal translation choices. They would send angry, vengeful screeds to the anime companies, demanding to know why the DVD they just bought didn't match the translation from the fan sub they torrented. Sometimes the fan sub was wrong, sometimes the legitimate translation was wrong, but very often either one was a valid interpretation. But to some of the loudest, angriest fans, this didn't matter. To them, the fan sub was always right because it was more literal. When English loanwords and name suffixes were reproduced exactly in the translation, a fan with a tiny knowledge of Japanese could follow along with what they were hearing. In their mind, they were, quote-unquote, checking the translation. When those fans saw professional subtitles that didn't include name suffixes and interpreted the dialogue in a more literary way, it was just plain wrong to them. Many of the current generation of translators came into the business in this era. To appease the fans, the anime companies adapted, and translations overall became a lot more literal. There's a lot less interpretation of dialogue these days. Everything is very literal, even at the cost of nuance. This is handy because literal translations are also a bit easier to produce. There's a lot less discussion, a lot less thought involved in making dialogue seem naturalistic or smooth to read. And here's where the mistakes come in. If a translator is going fast, deadline pressure is on, and their default position is super literal. Anything that's originally an English word is going to simply pass through to that translation as the word, even if it doesn't mean the same thing in English. You could call it sloppiness, and that could be accurate. But when you're processing so much text so quickly, it's inevitable that certain things slip through the cracks. This is just one of those things that do so easily. He has some issues with his dialogue here. I don't know. I'm not super upset about where we are today. Anime fans are a lot more educated on Japanese culture than they were in the 90s. Being able to be as literal as translations are today and still be understood is a luxury that comes with having an educated fan base. But with the speed at which content is being translated, there are absolutely things that could be done better. This is one of them. He makes a very good point. There's actually an example I can think of in the English translation of the video game Senran Kagura. Now, Senran Kagura is one of my favorite game localizations. It's done by Xseed, who, if you know anything about Xseed...
It's in the group of 10 games.
Oh, hush. Senran Kagura is done by Xseed, and Xseed has consistently great translations. And one of the things that they do in Senran Kagura is, in the context of the series, characters have special moves called, in Japanese, hidden ninpos. Now, of course, they don't literally mean the word hidden in this case. Yeah. Like, they're not hiding it somewhere and they just pull it out of their ass. The word hidden here is more meant to describe something that is secretive and not very well known. So Xseed, when they translated that, decided to go for the translation of super secret ninja technique, which gets across the intention a lot better. And I bring this up because that's part of... He does mention literal translations, and that's where you hear a lot of the stock phrases like, it can't be helped, and whatever like that. It's because during a certain part of anime fandom, anime fans had more direct connection to the Japanese material thanks to the internet, and they started demanding more literal translations because they felt in their minds that was more quote-unquote correct.
Right.
That's not necessarily true. A good example I can think of in regards to translating literally versus translating liberally comes with the translation of the movie Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya. When I first saw that movie...
one of the
Zeke, will you cut that out? Anyway, I saw Disappearance two different ways. First time I saw it was a fan sub, and the second time I saw it was the official DVD release from Bandai. After watching the English dub, I decided to watch the movie subtitled in Japanese on their DVD.
Right.
And the line choices that they had going from the fan sub to the official translation were radically different.
Right.
Like, there was one line that I think was translated as something along the lines of, "I'm envious" in the original Japanese version, but in the fan sub, it was translated as "I'm envious" or something like that.
Yeah.
But in the official translation, it was translated as "it makes me jealous," which, is a much more natural line. And it gets across the same intent.
Although, to be fair, envy and jealousy aren't exactly synonyms, but whatever.
But again, it does kind of... It was... But yeah, it's... I just wanted to bring up the Answer Man article because it does bring up kind of a reason why people are so okay with the more literal translations. Because a lot of people who are playing Persona, which is a very Japanese-centric game, are people who most likely also watch anime, like us.
Yeah.
So they're more used to the
fucking
more
losers, just like us. We're relatable. We're hashtag relatable.
So when people say, I don't really see much of an issue with the script, they quite literally don't see much of an issue with the script because they're used to these more literal translations. Now, of course, that's not to say that Persona 4 doesn't have issues aside from literal translation. We just went over like...
5.
What?
You said Persona 4.
5, right? 5.
Yeah. Whereas Persona 4's translation is perfect.
You didn't need to repeat it. You didn't need to repeat it over and over and try to interrupt me. It's like people can still hear you.
I know. I was trying to repeat it over and over and interrupt you. That was my goal.
Asshole.
Correcting you was the secondary objective.
5.
It's the number that ANN can't count to.
Apparently, I can't count to it either.
But yeah, gives some nice historical context for why this is, why thus is thus.
Yeah, and I just found it to be a very topical article, considering what the big controversy was at the time.
And I've even noticed, like, you see a lot more complaints from, like, game reviewers than you do from people who are familiar with anime and translations and stock phrases and shit like that.
Yeah.
So there's something to that.
So they,
but again, like, it's always like,
because they're more used to the more okay, Locke, thank you. Locke said, God damn it, Kevin, learn the number 5. We don't want you to be ANN.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, like, and again, like, there's always good guidelines and rules of thumb and stuff like that, but like, it's always a bit more art than science, you know?
Yeah.
Like, even things that are relatively okay can still cause issues later on down the road. Like
counting, it's more of an art than a science.
No, not counting. I mean, translation.
I was quoting.
Like the example I always bring up is super high school level, which is they changed it to ultimate, which for the most part works, but there's a bit of nuance that it lacks, which is that it lacks that high school part. And that's important because ultimate implies that they are the absolute best at something, whereas super high school level just implies. Yeah, whereas super high school level just means that they are an extremely high level for a high schooler, and that usually isn't a problem, but it does cause some discrepancies down the road. So there's stuff like that, but like, so sometimes the more literal translation is right.
Talking and you also here for the record.
Yeah. But then you also like readability issues and stuff like that. Like I get why they went with ultimate. It just flows better in English, I suppose.
Kimo, are you still here?
I'm still here.
Okay. Yeah. You've barely said anything.
I mean, he's focusing on Killing Floor 2. What do you want? Yeah, he's focusing on Killing Floor 2. What do you want from him?
So there's not a whole lot to add.
What?
Yeah.
No, except for the part that I wanted to talk about specifically concerning Persona 5, but, continue.
Okay. Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, just finish what you wanted to say, and then maybe I could say.
No. My point is done. Just say what you want to say.
Well, concerning the whole controversy with the translation, there was a point that you brought up concerning the voice actors, and Erica, Ann's voice actress, she actually came out when someone actually brought up the issue with how Sakamoto's name was pronounced. Apparently, it was pronounced Sakamoto. I'm not sure why, but so
that's another.
Yeah,
that's another point if you want me to explain.
Erica was called. I guess I don't know if he was called out, but he basically replied and said that she tried to give advice and I guess I don't know what's the word, improvise. She tried to improvise and but this was what her client requested, so there was nothing she could do.
Yeah. To explain that, Ryuji's last name is Sakamoto, but for whatever reason they say it as Sakamoto because that's what the Japanese heads at Atlas wanted them to say, and they do several other names weirdly like that. Like her last name is Takamaki, but they say it as Takamaki.
Yeah,
they were expressly told to put emphasis on the K sounds for some reason.
It's technically speaking accurate, but it doesn't flow well in English.
Yeah,
it just comes off incredibly stilted.
Yeah, but so there might have been some issues like that where the Japanese guys were like, "No, this is how we want it done," and they were like, "Well, okay, if you're sure." So, all manner of things could have happened behind the scenes.
Yeah, like I said.
Yeah, and another thing concerning the actual script, Persona 5 is set to be twice as long as, I guess, Persona 4. And both were done in, I guess, well, they were both done in the same amount of time. So you can definitely argue that maybe there wasn't just not enough time to make the game, localize the game, I mean.
And considering they had an extra, like, what was it, 4 or 5 months?
They say they did.
To localize the game. Considering
well,
that.
An extra 10 weeks. But that doesn't even account for things like manufacturing, shit like that.
Yeah, and the fact that the game was I guess, available to some people.
Oh, yeah. Reviewers had physical copies, like, on, like, February 28th or some shit. Okay. Like, that was only, like, 2 weeks after they said it was originally supposed to come out. So I don't buy this issue of we needed more time for localization. I think the evidence speaks for itself. They wanted a better time slot in the market.
Sounds like, yeah.
And I don't blame them for that. I'm just saying I would have preferred if they just said that, because now it's created this false argument about they took more time, so it wasn't rushed.
Yeah. And there was also another thing that this was brought up by Kotaku, and I guess everyone loves Kotaku.
Right. Let's discredit it instantly then, because it's Kotaku.
So
I'm kidding.
What happened was, when Persona, you often get questions that if you answer correctly, it increases your knowledge.
Yeah. I read this article. Yeah.
So, essentially, what happened was one of the questions that you got was about shogi, and I guess what Kotaku was trying to say was it wasn't explained properly, so it gave Western players more of a disadvantage.
Well, okay. Let me summarize what Kotaku's problem was, and this is what everyone was making fun of them for, which is that they felt like Japanese-centric questions shouldn't have been left in the game, because how's a Westerner supposed to know about shogi pieces and shit like that? And everyone's general retort was, that's what the question was. That's a Japanese game. Like, there are some concepts that you should explain, but you only have so many lines to work with, and like they're not going to give you like a history and rule book about shogi in the limited lines they have, just so you can answer, so they can give you the answer to this question. So yeah, it does make it harder, but that's also the experience you signed up for. You signed up for an experience where you are a Japanese high school student at a Japanese high school being asked Japanese questions.
Yeah, and
so
another thing.
So do your fucking research, learn something, expand your horizons, and learn some fucking culture. Get some fucking culture in you, inject some fucking culture in your bloodstream, and be all cultured and shit, and be the most cultured motherfucker you've ever known, because you're just so full of culture. You'll make cottage cheese wish it was as cultured as you.
Wow, slow down there.
I'm sorry. I don't like them.
To be fair, these are the same people that defended the English localization of Fire Emblem Awakening, where an entire conversation was contracted into a bunch of ellipses.
But I'll get to that. But I think the thing about Persona is that all the questions that you get aren't just questions that any high schooler can answer. A lot of them are actually pretty complicated stuff that even I don't know, and I'm a university student. Medicine.
Yeah. Okay, it was Fire Emblem Fates. My bad.
I was going to correct you on that, but I wasn't actually sure.
Yeah, because every question so far that I've had to answer in the game, I did not know the answer to. I had to Google it.
I knew some, but like there's a lot of later questions where I'm just like, the fuck.
Yeah, well, I guess you played a lot more than I have, but so far all the questions that I've had.
I mean, like, I'll admit there are questions where I'm just like, how am I, and a proud burger stomping American, supposed to know these things? To which I'm just like, okay, well, you see, I'm more intrigued by it. I see it as a challenge and be like, let's see how much of a weeb I am. Can I answer this question about Japanese history or shogi pieces or some shit like that? Like, I see it as like a challenge and something I signed up for. I signed up for a game where I'm a Japanese high school student in a Japanese high school. So I expect some Japanese as fuck questions.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is that sometimes a lot of those questions aren't even related to Japan. They're just
that's true. I mean, some of them are. I'm just saying that, like, you got your general knowledge questions, you got your like science questions, your grammar questions, whatever the fuck, and then you got like the more Japanese-centric questions. But those were all the questions that were there originally. If they changed those questions, there'd be way more of an uproar than just one article from Kotaku saying, I don't want to learn things.
Yeah, precisely.
I don't want to whip out Wikipedia so I can get an A on a video game test.
So, well, I'm going to be honest. I actually used, at first, Dick's gonna hate me, but I agree with them at first. But then when I thought about it a little more, can't say I feel the same way.
Like, again, it was a completely an isolated moment that has no real impact on the story or progression.
So my take on Persona 5 and what's going on with it is, yeah, it does have a few issues with its translation, but I don't think they're necessarily game breaking. They're more specifically, related to English, related to language more so than anything else.
Yeah. I think, like, just playing through it, I'm just like, sometimes something catches my eye. I'm like, well, that's weird. But, like, I get it. I get the game. Like, I understand the game. Like, to me, like, objective, like, 90% reached, okay? Yeah, it could be better. But, like, I mean, I could be playing in Moon Runes, and then I wouldn't be having any fun, so...
Damn, Moonspeak!
And I'm not trying to say, oh, it's fine. Yeah, they should strive for better. But I'm just saying, don't let this deter you from purchasing this game.
Oh, of
Absolutely.
course, yeah.
Yeah.
Josh Dunham over on Wave Motion.
Oh, the maker of the Duff'em cake mixes?
Dunham.
Duff cake mixes?
No.
He makes some duff as fuck cake mixes.
Josh Dunham over on Wave Motion Canon actually said that when he was playing the game, he didn't really see much issue with the localization and felt that, like, he was still getting a great experience and he was still completely invested in the game itself. So, and he was completely invested in the story and the characters. So
I feel like that too.
He said purely through that, the translation did its job.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, like everything still connects and everything still hits, and like...
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, maybe if you're not so used to anime conventions and the kind of translations we're used to, then maybe you'll have a little bit more rough time with it, because you might be expecting the next great American novel, and then you get this. But, like, it all connects, and you're invested, and you feel what you're supposed to feel, and you know what you're supposed to know, and stuff like that. So, like, I don't know, like, I could be a grammar Nazi about it, but, like, it hasn't impeded my enjoyment of the game, and I even get a little bit of a kick out of it sometimes, just seeing an awkward line. I'm like, that line is awkward. That's funny. That amuses me as a human being. That makes me not think about the inevitability of death. That sort of thing.
Well,
yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's pretty much my take on it. I think that there are errors.
Yeah.
But they're mostly related to the language itself, and I don't think they do impede the experience of the game that much. It's a problem, but it's a small problem.
Yeah.
And
But again, if you think you deserve better, then go ahead and send your angry tweets and emails at Atlas, whatever.
Absolutely. I mean, hey, if you really care about it that much, then sure. There's nothing wrong with asking for better.
But again, just don't let it deter you from buying this game.
Yeah.
And despite what I just said, don't be an asshole.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's true. So I think that's all we got to say about that. And moving right along.
Reactions and all the reactions that I've seen have been two extremes. One reaction that is just trying to defend the game as much as possible, and the other extreme, which I honestly have not seen a lot of from my perspective, except through Anthony Birch. Is the other extreme that are, the kind of people that are immediately denouncing the game because of those localization issues. Yeah. And you have a group of loud people on one side and another group of loud people on another, and nobody's trying to talk, discuss. Nobody's trying to discuss exactly what's wrong.
To shout each other down.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I feel like the closest person that's gotten to doing exactly that is the website that we discussed today.
Yeah.
But it's not perfect, because I don't agree with the fact that Atlas failed their fans. No. I feel the translations are pretty one-to-one. It's just grammar. It's just English, pure English.
Yeah.
And
all right.
yeah, I do see where he's coming from, but I probably don't feel as passionate as he is about this topic. It's it's whatever.
So are we done talking about this?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. So moving right along, Jackal Greek sent us more questions.
Huzzah!
Another round of Jackal Greek's 20 questions. So again, some of these are going to be directed towards me and Kevin specifically. Some of them are more general. So Kimo, feel free to answer as they come up.
All right. Sure thing.
Right. So question number 1: who are your favorite anime vampires?
Kono Dioda.
This one's actually tough. I don't watch a lot of anime that have vampires in them.
Yeah, same here. The only anime vampires I really know are Mina Tepes from Dance in the Vampire Bund, Alucard from
Alucard. I guess it'd be Alucard for me.
Yeah, Alucard from Helsing and Dio Brando from JoJo's Bizarre
Adventure. Then definitely Dio Brando. Yeah. I totally forgot that he was a vampire for a second there.
So I'd probably just say those three and call it a day.
Yeah, I got to look up something real quick, but I know okay. Yeah. So my answer is an oldie but goodie, sort of in my eyes. I didn't watch the anime so much, but I read the manga, and it was like one of the first like sort of shoujo manga I got into. I mean, it's kind of shoujo.
Oh, I know. I think I know where you're going. Go ahead.
What are you going with?
No, just go.
No. I want you to guess.
Vampire Knight?
No, not that shoujo. No. It was actually Karin or a chibi vampire.
Yeah, Karin. Yeah, that was
but my answer is not Karin. It's actually her younger sister Anju. For her like snarkiness and stoicness.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
that's always a fun
great design.
That's always a fun character.
Yeah, great design too. Yeah, I haven't looked back on that series in forever, but I do remember enjoying it fondly. I haven't thought about it forever until this question came up.
Aha.
Yeah, but Karin or Chibi Vampire, as it's called here.
Good for you.
Question number 2: how much bread do you consume in the average week?
Do you know how many breads you have eaten in your life?
Yeah, how many yakisoba pounds?
I actually don't eat that much bread. Come to think of it,
I eat a shit ton of bread. I probably eat like 2 or 3 loaves a week.
I eat a lot less bread than I used to. Like I used to just eat French bread constantly, just hum.
Yeah,
but
I'm always having toast. I'm always making sandwiches, shit like that. Like I eat a lot of bread.
But yeah, for me, like I don't eat that much bread.
How about you, Kimo? You come from where bread was invented.
Yeah, I do eat a lot of bread.
Yeah,
I guess it's just part of life here.
Yeah, you put yeast in it these days, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, just checking.
Next.
Yeah.
Question 3: are you sober enough to answer the stand question this time?
Oh, what stand would I be? Would I have? Okay.
Yeah.
I was drunk last time he asked that.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing. It's like, again, that requires like kind of a lot of thought. I can at the very least say that it'd probably be something like, I don't know. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Like I seriously.
I guess he's still not sober enough.
Oh shit.
So Kimo, are you sober enough to tell us what stand you'd be?
You'd have?
I guess I am. Well, it can't be my favorite stand, or just I have to pick one that's based on my personality.
I don't know. Just what stand would you have?
Probably have that one stand. What's his name?
What's the stand's function?
Oh, so I don't have to pick a canon stand. Just do whatever.
Well, what was the stand you were thinking of? Like, what's the stand's function?
I don't understand why this is such a complicated question.
I was gonna go with Echo.
Echoes. That would be great.
All Question 4. Have you seen or read One Piece? And if so, how much?
I have watched/read One Piece up to about midway through the Fishman Island arc.
I don't know how far that is.
That's like shortly after the time skip, so I've read pretty damn far. I need to get back to it, but Dressrosa seems a bit daunting.
Yeah, I think I watched up to what was Skypiea or something? Like not very far.
Yeah, Skypiea.
Not very far, I don't think.
Skypiea is a decent way into it. Not too far, like under 200 episodes, but still.
Yes, I don't know. I'll get back to it one of these days. Maybe when it ends. Who knows?
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Hope
I live to see it. Hope I live to see it. Hope he lives to do it. How about you, Kimo?
I haven't watched One Piece at all.
Okay, fair.
Oh, yeah. Answer.
Let's say you are badly hurt. Would you rather eat Italian food or have stars spit on you?
Stars?
I don't get it.
Next question.
Okay. I guess
I guess I need Italian food.
This is probably referencing a Star Versus episode, but I don't remember.
I haven't seen most of season 2 yet.
I'm gonna go with Italian food still, though. All right. Number 6. If you could pick an anime character to be president of the United States, who would you pick?
Kyosuke for president.
Yeah.
No.
For the purposes of this question, you can pick characters born outside the U.S. Yeah, obviously.
Funny Valentine. No. Funny Valentine's a terrible choice.
Kamina. What's wrong with Kamina?
Kamina. Let's go with that. Yeah, Kamina. Believe in the me who believes in you.
I'm trying to think of an answer.
That's a great slogan.
That would make a great campaign slogan, yeah. Believe in me who believes in you.
Let's go with Gohan.
From Dragon Ball?
Why not? No, from fucking Soul Hunter.
I don't even know that.
Whatever. Kimo, answer the question.
Well, like I said, Kamina.
Okay. Question 7. Would you ever play a card game while riding a motorcycle?
I might.
Yes.
I'm just worrying about
I spent money on those things. I don't want anything to happen to them. The cards, the motorcycle, or me.
Card games on card games on card games.
Question 8. I have no friends. The only people I can send a bunch of questions to are my friends at the Baka Gaijin show. What do I do?
Send more questions to your friends at the Baka Gaijin show.
Yeah, it's fucking obvious. Jeez. Number 9. Who is best girl in Aquars?
Yohane.
Wait, what's a chorus?
Love Life Sunshine.
Oh. I have no idea.
Why doesn't he just say that? Question 10. How many questions do I need to send before I become the ultimate? How many questions do I need to send before I become the ultimate question sender? Well, you're not in high school anymore, so that's not going to happen. Question number 11. Question number 11. Is Kevin the ultimate co-host?
Again, not in high school. Can't do
that. Question 12. Monokuma, Fav, or Cube?
What was the middle one?
Fav from the Magical Girl Raising Project.
Well, I haven't seen that, so.
I only saw like 2 episodes of it.
Probably Monokuma because he's so fucking nuts.
Yeah, I'm going Monokuma too. Number 13. How much did you like that Mulan McNugget sauce? So, I did the thing that everyone's theorizing how they made the Mulan McNugget sauce, which is mixing their sweet and sour and honey and their tangy barbecue. 2-part sweet and sour, 1-part tangy barbecue. I mixed it together with chicken nuggets. It was really good. It's really they're both individually really good, but together they're just really great nugget sauce. I don't know if I dedicate my life to obtaining it, but like, it's pretty good.
Morty, I need that. I need that Mulan nugget. I need that Mulan chicken sauce.
I'm not doing this for my family, Morty. That was a lie. I'm doing it for that McNugget sauce. That McNugget sauce, Morty. Yeah, it's all about that. That's my series arc. If it takes 9 more seasons. 9 more seasons, Morty.
Was this a joke? 6 more seasons?
No, it was 9.
Whatever. Next question. Oh dear, is my internet doing the thing?
No. My brother just came in to inform me. It's the last day of the Uprising event in Overwatch. He got 14 loot boxes and got jack shit out of it. He was just telling him that he was just coming here to vent. Question 14. How much do you know about Contai Collection? Nothing.
I
know the premise, but that's about it. It's about anthropomorphized Japanese warships, but that's about all.
I guess I kind of recognize some of the characters just from how just how common I see fan art of them.
Yeah. Question 15. Other than Heartcatch, what seasons of Pretty Cure have you seen?
I've seen Smile Precure. I've seen over half of Happiness Charge, and I wish I didn't. And I've seen half of Futariwa Precure.
Is that all of them?
For me, so far, yeah.
No, I mean, like, is that all of them?
No, they're like friggin' 15 seasons.
Oh, well, okay then.
Actually, I think it's closer to like 18 now, so.
Question 16. What is the pizza situation in the area in which you live?
There are not a whole lot of pizza places around here.
Pizza Hut has, almost has a monopoly on the pizza industry here. Yeah, I guess the only competitor to Pizza Hut is, well, the only major competitor would be Papa John's, but even Papa John's Papa John's is struggling.
Yeah. I have a lot of pizza options where I live. I live near a Pizza Hut. I live near a Little Caesars. I live near a Marco's. There's a place here called Stella's that makes a buttermilk pizza that's really good.
Aren't you privileged?
Yeah. The Costco brand pizza is really good. Trying to think about it. There's more, but I'm not thinking of it at the time. Yeah, the pizza situation here is pretty good. Question 17. What are the good seasons of Power Rangers?
That kind of depends on what you're looking for, but my personal favorite seasons, like the ones that I can pinpoint as being like really good.
Time Force.
Power Rangers in Space is worth watching, but mostly if you've seen the previous 5.
Yeah.
Power Rangers Lost Galaxy has a lot of good stuff. My favorite season is Time Force.
Time Force is the only one I've watched.
What was your opinion on Time Force?
Well, I was a kid, but yeah, I loved it. But I only watched it when I was really young, and I just never tried it again.
Whatever. Time Force is my favorite season. Dino Thunder is a very fun season. I like that one. It's
good to know that I grew up with the best one.
Yeah. I think the only one I think the only ones I ever saw as a kid were Ninja Storm and Dino something.
Dino Thunder, yeah.
Ninja Storm and Dino Thunder.
Those are good seasons, yeah. SPD is also really fun. It's easily my favorite of the Kalish era. RPM.
How's Mystic Force? That one I used as a thumbnail that one time.
God, Mystic Force is such a mixed bag.
Yeah.
It's probably the most middling season of all of Power Rangers.
Whoa. There's a lot of Power Rangers.
Yeah, it's probably the most middle of the road season in existence for the series.
Yeah.
All of the others are a lot of the others are either it's like particularly good or they're particularly bad. But like Mystic Force is just so 5 out of 10 that it's not even funny. Anyway, RPM is, I believe TV Tropes kind of compared RPM to watching RPM only knowing about Mighty Morphin is similar to watching The Dark Knight knowing only the 1960s Batman series. Which is relatively apt. Because I'm still here.
Oh, you cut out for me.
Yeah, fuck.
Anyway, so...
And Dino Charge is fun, too.
All right. Question 18. Would you say that my questions are the mappy segments of your show?
Yes.
Yes. Obviously.
We just keep clicking the same question over and over, doing random shit every time.
Question 19. If you had Brain Burst installed in your head, what would your character name be? This is a fun question.
I'll let you answer that one.
Yeah, I gotta think for a second. Because basically the way the names work is that they, it's almost always two words. The first one has to somehow relate to a color, and the second one is usually either an animal or some sort of machinery. But not always. Like there's some weird ones. But let me think. You know what? One day I'll probably come up with a better one. But for now, I'm going to steal one from the series. I've always been a fan of Graphite Edge.
That's referring to what was it? Fuck.
Excel World.
Excel World, yeah. Excel World's kind of like a MMO video game thing, I guess. Maybe partially. I don't know. Fuck it.
Okay, so in Excel World, the game is Brain Burst, and it's like a, it's kind of like it's played like a fighting. It's like played like a 3D fighting game, but there's also like levels and equipment and stuff like that. So it's got like a kind of RPG aspects, but the way it's actually played is more like a fighting game with matches and whatnot.
My name would be XXX 420 Bong Master XXX.
That's not how that works, but okay. All right. Question 20. Chalupa's greatest Mexican food or greatest Mexican food?
I don't have a lot of experience with Mexican food, unfortunately, so I'm out of this one too.
The greatest Mexican food is a plate of fucking warm ass taquitos, in my opinion.
What's a chalupa supposed to be?
I don't know.
Is that just an incredibly large taco or something? I don't know.
So that's the first problem. I don't even know what it is. But my answer for greatest Mexican food is a plate of either beef or chicken taquitos.
Mine would be a burrito.
You're gay. Anyway.
Fine. Mine would be freaking hot tamales. Fuck you.
Homosexual tamales, whatever.
Is that all?
Should that be our title? Homosexual tamales, whatever.
Whatever floats your boat, man.
Whatever floats your homosexual tamales. Anyway, so that's all 20 questions. We did it.
Neat.
We broke new ground. Right. So we've had a fun podcast tonight.
Yeah.
Mostly very informative, I would say. So that's the Baka Gaijin show. So tell everyone where they can reach you guys.
I will let our guest go first. Kimo, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter.
Apparently on Comedy Central.
And that. Yeah, I'm around. I'm not going anywhere.
At KimoForce on Twitter.
Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, that is.
All right.
All right. You can find me on Twitter at CCharmanderK. You can also find me on Tumblr, but I mostly just reblog random shit there. I do have a YouTube channel, Kevin Faulkner. And you can also find me on Otaku Midnight on QA the Third's channel and on Otaku Midnight Gaming, which is its own dedicated channel.
Right. All right. So I'm Zeke Freak. I'm here on YouTube. If you like what you listen to here, you can click that subscribe button for more podcasts, more Baka Gaijin novelty hours soon to come, and other such live streams and other such videos such as that. You can find me at Twitter at Zeke Freak. Tumblr, Zeke Freak. PSN is Zeke Freak. Oh man, I'm like Zeke Freak everywhere. You can join. You can join in on the fun on our amazingly amazing Rick and Morty, not Rick and Morty Discord server. The link for that is in the description below. So check that out. We have a lot of fun there with that Discord server. And thank you for listening to the Baka Gaijin show. And we will see you guys next time. Zeke Freak out. Ciao, ciao for now.
Goodbye.